what is the best stadium to use for your team builder team? Well, in this full video, I'm going to be going over all of the best options that can work for your team builder team. Of course, we're going to be going over the generic stadiums, but I think there are a lot of really good options from the real schools, and I'll tell you which stadiums are going to work for the best color scheme that you're working with, and also the environment that it's in. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you want more videos like this. I can really go further into team builder content like team builder showcases. I love team builders, so let me know your guys' thoughts. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys later. So I'm going to give you some of the best options to use for your team builder teams. Now, I will immediately get the generic stadiums out of the way, so I'll pull them up on screen. Now, this is going to be a huge shout out to it's from Operation Sports. His name is NC Offie, or In Coffee. I don't know how it's pronounced. From Operation Sports, but he basically made a playlist on YouTube that has like every stadium, and he just turns the camera around, which I think is an excellent way to look at like everything versus using the website, because the website just shows a single angle and you can't see half the stadium. So I think the way he does it here is excellent. I'm gonna go a little bit more in detail as I like break down the list, but I kind of narrowed it down based off of his playlist. So I will also link down in the description. Again, huge shout out to him. He did a great job, but I am going to use some of his videos for the generic stadium. So again, shout out to him. And again, please go check out his channel and leave a thumbs up. This is just such a great like tool I think everyone should have, and just pull up the playlist if you need to like check each of the stadiums. So I'll start off with the generic stadium one. And I will say it's actually probably the best of the generic stadiums. You basically get almost a complete bowl minus one of the end zones. You do get an upper deck. It is a pretty solid stadium. The one thing with these generic stadiums is that 3 of them have pretty mid capacities. So they are kind of meant for like either a lower power school or like a group of 6 school. It's not really meant for like a powerhouse that you're creating. I think you could use them, but I definitely want to showcase some other great options, especially from some like real schools that you can use. So generic stadium number 1 would probably be my favorite. Generic stadium 2 is also pretty solid, especially with the background. It has like a city background. You see a bunch of buildings. The only thing that I don't really like about generic stadium 2 is on one of the end zones, there's like this big grassy patch area, and you think that's where like fans could sit and watch the game. Like a lot of stadiums have that. Like Virginia is a good example. You know, Missouri has that, but it's just completely blank. And then you just have fans like further back. It just seems kind of weird in my opinion. But if you like the city like background with all the buildings, it's actually not a bad option. It only has stands on each sideline. There really isn't anything on the end zone, so that's something to keep in mind. Again, pretty low capacity. And then you have generic stadium 3, which again feels kind of like a Sunbelt stadium. You do have every I guess edge. You have the 2 sidelines, and the end zones all have like fans and have areas, but it definitely seems a lot more, I would say, intimate. It seems a lot more up close. It just seems like the capacity is lower though, so that is something to keep in mind. Can't go wrong with it though. Again, these aren't bad options. And then generic stadium 4, I got a little bit of beef with this stadium, because this was the same stadium that was used in the old Madden 25, not the one from last year, like the one from 2013. This stadium has been in the game for so long. I don't really like it that much. It is a bigger stadium, does have a higher capacity, but I think there are some better options. You also have the high school stadium. High school stadium should really only be used for high school teams. That's just such a low capacity. Makes no sense. Maybe if you're gonna do like a JUCO or something. I think it's great for doing like team builder for Road to Glory. Perfect for that. I don't really see any other purpose for using it. So now we can go into the actual stadiums that are not generics. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is Air Force. So starting off with Air Force, I think their stadium, shockingly, is a great option. So just looking around, you don't see really any branding on the sidelines. You do see those little video boards, but again, those will change with the team that you select. So that is one cool thing about college football 26, is that the video boards are changing. But I always like to look at the sidelines and see if there's any logos or anything on here, because you can't change those. Obviously right here you do have Air Force there. That is going to be there on your team builder team. First of all, you have really small lower bowl, and then it immediately turns into like triple decker, which I think is actually pretty cool. But just looking deeper at some of these things, you do have like the things like Desert Storm, you have the Berlin Airlift. So these are more like Air Force specific things, but to be honest, you really don't see those. You really have to look to find them. And then just seeing all these other things, again, it's white and gray. These are really easy to blend in with any stadium. That one is also, you know, blue, so that is something to keep in mind, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think you could really pick any team color and be perfectly fine. So I think Air Force is actually a really good stadium. I just think it has a ton of potential here. Like, I really think it is a great stadium to use. It's like, also it's a West Coast style stadium, so you know, if you want to have some team that's based in the West Coast, you have some trees in the background. But I think Air Force is a great option. I definitely think you should use it. I really don't think there's really anything against it, other than maybe like being a little weird in terms of its design, how it has a single decker here and then it jumps into a triple decker. But I think it's something that I would totally recommend using for a team builder team. So that is the first stadium that I am going to recommend. Next up is going to be Akron. Now I know it's crazy that I'm doing Akron for like being, you know, such a small school, but I think their stadium is actually better than the generic stadiums personally, and its branding is not as bad as you guys think. So first of all, there really isn't that much branding really at all. It's pretty clean. Now this definitely is going to be recommended for a team that has a blue color scheme, because if you look at the upper deck, it is blue. Could go with a more like royal blue, I guess. The only branding you really see is up here, where you just see the A logo. Honestly, if you had a school that had A in it, it's not even that bad. And again, nowhere else do you really see any Akron branding. You do see some blue in the background here, but again, it's just blue. There's no logos. I really think this is a great stadium, and one of the cool things about it is that you do have all these fans in the background. I just think it's cool that you have this grassy area and then you have the fans there. So I do think it is really cool. Again, it's also a stadium that's really like close. Like, it is right on top of you. The fans are right there. I think the architecture is really cool. I would definitely recommend using Akron. Again, if you have a blue team, it fits right in. You could probably get away if you don't use a blue team, but probably would want to use kind of a royal blue. But again, I think Akron is a great option. So there you go. We'll move on to the next stadium. Now we are on our third stadium that's not generic, and that's going to be Cal. I really think Cal has one of the best options out there. Genuinely, this is a great stadium to use. I think the only branding I can find is down here where it says calathleticsfund.com. Like, there really isn't anywhere else that you see Cal's branding. Again, these video boards will all change for the team that you select, so it's all gonna work really well. I'm just trying to find anywhere else you see any Cal branding, but really the only branding I can see is right here. That is the Cal Athletics Fund. That's the only thing that I can see that has anything to do with Cal. This is, again, a really good option. It's a bowl stadium and got some little hill mountain area in the background. So again, West Coast team. But other than that, I really think this is a great option. Oh, I think, wait, nope, there you go. There's more Cal branding just right there. It's so hard to find, honestly. It is like such a great option. Again, this would probably be like an S tier. The only reason why you may not want to pick it is because maybe it's just a little bit small. It's a bowl stadium. You cannot go wrong with bowl style stadiums, especially for college, and it's for a power team. I definitely think it's something that I would personally recommend. And I think it works for any school too. You could use any color. So I think Cal is definitely towards the top of the list. And we'll move on to the next team. And we're moving on to, this might be the final stadium for today, and this is going to be Cincinnati. This is a classic. This is something that everyone was using in College Football 25, but I still think it's a great option. It's a classic stadium, but also has some modern features. I think, you know, having that building in the background that doesn't have any logos on it just looks really clean. The video board has no logos on it. Really, this is such a good option. Like, I don't really see any issues here. Now, there is some Cincinnati branding somewhere, as you can see, like on the upper deck. This isn't a video board, like you do see it, but to be honest, like, it's all cut off, so that could just be like a pattern. You know, you could just kind of write that off, but that's really the only Cincinnati logos you do see on the stadium. The rest of it is, you know, pretty clean. You really can't see anything else. Looking at the press box, it is all like really, you know, super clean, no branding anywhere on the walls. Again, it is super, like, looking down here, these are, you know, sponsorships. These are fake sponsorships, obviously, but nothing regarding Cincinnati. So there is also one catch as well. So if you can see right there, those seats, those benches are red. I don't know why the crowd is acting so weird, but those benches are red. So for example, if you're playing like a new school that isn't very good and you're doing Dynasty, you'll realize like the crowd is going to be empty to start off, and you will see like those red seats. Like those seats will be there. Now, it's not completely immersion breaking, but it definitely makes you think like you should probably pick a school that has red in it because they have like the red stands. But it's honestly not too big of a deal, honestly. Like it almost feels like a generic color that could be put there, but that's just something to keep in mind. So like if the stadiums are, you know, empty, or if there isn't that many fans, you will see like some empty seats and have some red peeking out. So if you're picking with a team that's blue, like for example, I did a team builder team with Duval College, which has blue and pink as its colors, and I picked the stadium. And at the beginning, like it was a little weird at first seeing like, you know, the pink and blue in the stadium with the red stands, but I think it's honestly something you can get over pretty quick. But other than that, again, I think Cincinnati is a great option. It has a lot of cool background features. You have like this building over here, you have, you know, this cool building with the cool little triangles, and then also you have like the looks like that's like the campus and the city behind it. So I think that's probably what makes this stadium such a great option, is that it has like the classic bowl, but it has also some really modern looking features of a stadium. So it's been a popular stadium for a reason in College Football 25, and I think it will continue to be a popular option for College Football 26. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are already using this stadium, but if not, it might be something to try out. But obviously we have the other ones I did showcase, and there are a lot more. I can keep going. I honestly eliminated a few stadiums before I got to Jack State, because I was initially going to do ECU, then Georgia Southern, but they had too many logos I just didn't really think would be good enough to put in. Like it would really break the immersion, and I think that's important for people. So Jack State, I think, is the one team or one stadium that I think has a good option here. Really, the only thing that looks bad is that you do see Jacksonville State University. That's really the only thing. Like everywhere else, the sidelines, the walls are pretty blank. You do have it up here where it says Jacksonville State University and home of the Gamecocks, but it's also like in a gray, you know, color. It's not like red, it's not super bold, super easy to ignore. But everywhere else, like it has, I think it's a really good option for a small team, small school. I think it's better than some of the generic stadiums. And someone mentioned, I forgot the comment, mentioned that the generic stadiums don't have bands, which I thought was actually insane. Like, how do you not have that section in? Like, I really think that EA maybe just put those stadiums in like last minute, but there you go, got the band right there, obviously in a pretty good section. I think this is the student section. I think so. So I just think it's a good like, and also the fans are really close to the field, so it's super immersive. Like it's gonna be, I think it's a good stadium, honestly. I would definitely pick it. You also have some sponsorships over there, but it's not like it's anything specific, you know, to Jack State or anything. You got these little like things, little not tents, but little things set up for people to, you know, stand and stuff. You got the visitor section. Again, yeah, the only issue is just having the Jacksonville State University sign, but honestly, if you're far away, like looking at this far away, it doesn't really, can't really tell what's there. Like it kind of blends in. But I just think it's a great option. Like genuinely, I think Jacksonville State, if you want to do a small school, you don't want to do the generic stadiums, you want something that's a unique stadium. Like the layout is actually pretty cool. Like you have the home side, you know, kind of have that little 2 sections deep, and then you have that student section behind the end zone, and then you have the other side where it's a little bit smaller, and then on the end zone you have, you know, that section where the fans are. And again, the video boards will match your school that you do end up picking, so you don't have to worry about that. And then you also have like campus in the background. So again, I think it's a really solid option. I definitely would pick it for a small school that I wanted to do personally. And even if you got better, like it's still like modern looking, like it's a modern style. So that is going to be the first game. I think we're starting off on a good note. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next stadium, and I think you guys are gonna be pretty surprised with that. All right, for our next stadium, yep, we're doing Kansas. And I was actually shocked by this because usually like a power school, like they have their logos everywhere. Guys, there really isn't any Kansas logos anywhere. Now, one thing to keep in mind, there is a lot of blue. The walls are blue, those aren't going to change. So definitely recommend doing this for a blue school, but just look around. I don't see any Kansas logos that aren't on a video board. Remember, the video board stuff, all that is going to change for your school. But just looking at like this side, this like area, you know, this section, there are no Kansas logos. Even this big video board, I think does it say, oh my god, it says David Booth, Kansas. You can barely read that. So that might be the only thing where you see something Kansas related, but the rest of the stadium is like extremely solid. Like honestly, if I had a blue school, like royal blue or even any kind of blue, honestly, I would totally pick Kansas Stadium. It has the modern design. Like this isn't even in real life yet because this side is still being constructed. Again, it has the band area, which I know, you know, the other generic stadiums don't have. If you want to, I mean, this stadium is big enough to where it could like fit like a big school. Like if you turned a smaller school into a powerhouse, like this stadium is pretty big. Like I think the capacity is also, you know, it's a super unique stadium too. Like the lights, I think the lights are awesome. Like I think it's one of the favorite parts about this stadium, how it has like these little like sticks, like these little lights that stick up. I think it's really cool. I honestly think Kansas is such a great option. Again, it does kind of limit you to a blue team, but other than that, like if you don't mind the blue walls at all, because looking at the walls, you don't see anything that's specific at all to Kansas. Like I'm looking around, all of it's just like those generic ads. I'm trying to find a Kansas logo that's not on a video board. Like usually they might have it like on, this is the one thing. There are some stadiums that I had to eliminate because like in the corner where the tunnel is, they'll have that logo there. And like I was gonna put Ole Miss in this video because it actually is pretty solid, but they have like those like the logos on the entrances, and that kills it, because if you're about to score a touchdown and you see that, it just completely kills the vibe. I don't know. I think immersion is extremely important for these stadiums, and again, I think this stadium looks beautiful. It's super modern. Like it's really cool. I really think that this stadium, and also in the background you have like all of Kansas's campus. I know in NCAA 14 they actually put fans back there, which is like pretty crazy. Obviously, you know, all the fans are now in the stadium this time, but it's still a really cool view. I definitely think this is a great option for people. Again, the only limitations is that you just have the blue walls, but everywhere else is extremely like it's very unbranded. And I think the seat colors, the seat colors are, I think, are gray. So like even if you didn't have, like you didn't care about the blue walls, the stands I think are still gray. Now also you have this area is also blue, so keep that in mind. I definitely think a blue team would be best, but again, super solid. I think Kansas is one of the best stadiums in the game that you could use. Like I did not expect this at all, honestly. I really thought that there was going to be a bunch of Kansas logos anywhere. You have the visitor section, you know, in the upper deck in that corner, so you will see them there. But yeah, I think Kansas is a great option. So again, we're starting off with two really solid options. It's modern looking stadiums, and now we're going to move on to probably one of my favorite stadiums in the game. I've been using it, you guys probably know, based off of the alphabetical order, but we're going to move on to the next stadium. All right, we're moving on to one of my favorite stadiums to use for a team builder team. I've been using it for the Bradenton team that I've been using, which is a red color scheme. So obviously you have Kansas State with purple, so I'm going to tell you the good things about it, and there's only a few things I don't like about this stadium, but overall the design, I really like that lower bowl area, and then you have like those two sections at top where you have like more fans that can, that upper deck right there. But I also love the 4 video boards, which is really crucial, I think, for, trying to make your stadium feel like it's the actual team builder stadium, because it's going to have all the logos for your team builder team, so that's going to be really important there. So just looking across the walls, like it's very, it's just like I don't even know what texture, it's like brick. Now, there are only a few things that look like Kansas State. So obviously you have these little, plaques or whatever. That's honestly something you don't really see that often. And then you also have the gates that have the Kansas State or K-State. Again, these are things that you're not going to notice unless you really look at it, but the crowd itself looks really solid. And I guess honestly, I haven't realized this ever. You do see that logo, that little K-State logo, but it's just, it doesn't say Kansas State or anything like that. So again, it's not that big of a deal, honestly. You don't really notice it. And then it does say Bill Snyder Family Stadium. Now, obviously that is a Kansas State like name, but honestly doesn't say Kansas State, so it could just say, hey, maybe the Bill Snyder Family Stadium has sponsored the stadium. It's really easy to add in for the immersion. Also, the stands down here in the lower bowl are, I think, neutral colored, like gray. Like, so if your team isn't really good or it's a low team prestige, like, and it's empty, like, it'll look pretty solid. Now, there is only one section that actually has purple seating, and that is this little area right here. So just keep that in mind. It's honestly not that bad. Like, when I was doing my Bradenton Dynasty, obviously that team is red, so it would obviously mismatch. But honestly, never really cared, because it's like, it's always out of view when you're in the play and when you're in the game, and the only time you really notice is when they do like a top-down view, but it's really not that bad at all. You also have a really solid visitor section, like right in the front, so you'll be able to see their reactions, or if they make a big play. There also is a section, there also is a little bit of a visitor section in the corner. That's actually kind of a nice detail by EA there. But overall, I think this is one of the best options. I just think the stadium looks super cool. I like how it's, you know, the stands or the fans are like super close, and it's also, I like how the lower bowl is like just super uniform, like all the way through. And then even this section over here, like it's basically empty, which I wish that EA kind of filled in these sections, because it does kind of feel weird. But again, no logos or anything. It fits super well. A bunch of video boards so that all your logos will come in and really take over the stadium. Again, Kansas State is such a great option. You can do any color. Like, Kansas is really good because it doesn't have any logos anywhere, but you're kind of stuck with like a blue team most likely. Kansas State, you could really do any team. Obviously, if you did purple, it would match perfectly with those seats, but you really don't need to do that. Honestly, Kansas State is such a great option. I think it's a great team, or a great stadium, and I absolutely recommend you guys using it. So those are some pretty solid options. Now let's go on to another option I think is good, but isn't really my favorite. All right, moving on to our fourth stadium of the day. This is honestly like a super solid option. I just think the stadium itself doesn't look very good, and that is Memphis, and that's the Liberty Stadium, or the Liberty Bowl. The thing is that this is basically like a blank canvas, because there really isn't any Memphis branding at all. Like, you would think that even though this is like technically not Memphis's stadium, like they would put some Memphis logos there just to ruin the vibes. But I think the people who created this stadium were like, hey, let's keep it blank so that people can use this. Like, genuinely, like over here, this is great. Like the gray padding on the wall, which is gonna be super easy to be able to plug in a team builder team. Even up here, it says Liberty Stadium, doesn't say anything about Memphis. Of course, again, I'm gonna keep saying it, the video boards will be changed, you know, to your team specific. So, and you got the fan section there, or the band section, so of course, you know, that will be in there, which isn't on the current generic stadiums. I mean, just for that, I do think it is a pretty solid generic stadium. I mean, it really is. You have the visitor section over here, and also the way that the stadium kind of fills up when it's not at capacity is pretty interesting. That is one thing that EA like did really good with, and I have to give a huge shout out to, is how the fans will kind of, I guess, sit when it's not sold out. Like in older games, it would just change the density, so like each section would just have like empty seats. But now you'll see, like, you know, the front rows will be empty, or will be filled, but then obviously in like the upper deck it'll be empty, and some sections will be bigger than others, like just depending on like which is better seating and stuff like that. But again, like, it's super solid option if you want. Again, just the stadium looks weird. Like, it is a very interesting shape. It almost reminds me of Oregon a little bit, like generic Oregon. I think this stadium might be older than Oregon's. I don't quote me on that. It reminds me of like just a generic version of Oregon Stadium. Again, it's not bad at all. It's just, I think it's a little ugly. You do see, I guess that's blue right there, so that's such a small thing. Like, really, you could put any color stadium, and maybe there's some blue in here as well, so that is something to keep in mind. I think the railing is also blue, so maybe focus blue adjacent or something, but honestly, it's not that big of a deal. I think you could put any color in here and be fine, to be honest. But again, you just got to get past like the aesthetic. Now, if you think this aesthetic is awesome, then in that case, use it. Like, I think this might be a perfect stadium. I'm even thinking about this blue part. Like, it really, like, of course it blends in with the crowd, but honestly, like, I can't really notice that. So it's honestly something you won't really, I don't think any people would notice. So I think Memphis is a good option. I just think the stadium looks kind of ugly. But you know what? If you want a decent sized stadium, nothing wrong with Memphis, but I want to include it because I know it's been a popular one. And if you guys haven't noticed it, there you go. So if you want to try out Memphis' stadium, Liberty Stadium is a pretty solid option. And now we're going to move on to another small stadium if you want to do a small school rebuild. All right, and now we're moving on to New Mexico for a solid small stadium. Honestly, this is a really good option. Like, there are really very minimal branding for New Mexico. Obviously, you have this little red garage area. You do see these little New Mexico banners, but it's not, you can't really notice it. Honestly, it took me a while to even realize it. You got some generic brands over here, and then you see Go Lobos here. Doesn't say New Mexico, but you know, honestly, it's not even that big of a deal. You also have like some fans in there. Like, that's actually pretty cool. Of course, those will be replaced with your own fans when you put them there. And then you got a very tiny video board up there. That's actually hilarious that there's a little video board up there. But just looking else, like, I mean, you do see, like, I guess you could say you see New Mexico Mutual, but like, honestly, I honestly didn't even realize that. I think New Mexico is honestly a really solid option. Of course, you have the press box. You can't really ignore that. But everywhere else, like the sidelines, the crowd, it's a very like Western style. I mean, obviously it's in New Mexico. It's an interesting stadium design. It is smaller, of course, but I just think you can't really go wrong with it. I would definitely choose New Mexico. I know a lot of people on Reddit were talking about this. Again, it's probably not the #1 choice, but you know, if you had a red team, I think it would blend in super well. You know, obviously you have those banners back there, but again, it just says the logos. So it just says, you know, Lobos. It's honestly not that really big of a deal. Again, I think this is, again, really solid option. I've done a New Mexico Dynasty last year and in College Bowl 25, and it was fun playing in the stadium, like seeing it fill up. Like, it definitely is a cool experience. Of course, doing it for a team builder team, it does fill out like a decent amount of seats as well. Like, you have all the sections covered. It just has a little bit more, like, it just looks cooler than some of the generic stadiums. Like, even over here, like, even where this has like branding on it, it just feels like like less generic, of course, because it's a New Mexico stadium. But the generic stadiums that have like this end zone style, it just doesn't look that good. Like, this actually has, you know, some cool things. Again, having the fans in there, like, those are the real fans. Those aren't just like the plastered fans that are just like, you know, that are basically like stickers. Like, I want to show you something. So if I like zoom out, there are some actually, yeah. So if you see in like the top in there, they're like stickers. Like, they don't even move. I don't know why it's not letting me see it, but it's blurred out. As you see, like, those are real fans, but up there, those are like stickers. Like, they're not like real fans. Like, that's everywhere you see. Like, you see them all the way up in that like press box area. Again, super solid. I think it's a really good choice, honestly. I would definitely pick it if I was doing a smaller school, especially if you have like a red theme. It would fit perfectly. But yeah, I mean, that's I think a pretty solid option. So other than that, we'll move on to, I think, the last stadium for the day, and then we'll kick it off with part 2. Again, we're going in alphabetical order, so we're gonna be going down the list. So if I didn't get to your stadium yet, we will get there. But I'm giving you guys some options. So let me know if you like this kind of content. Hit the subscribe button if you like it. We're going to look at the final stadium for the day. All right, and our last stadium for today is going to be North Texas. I mean, dude, this stadium looks so sick. Like, look at this end zone. Like, that's such a unique design. Like, that is clearly, like, I think that looks so cool. And just looking at everywhere else, it is like the walls are just brick. Looking how I think I initially put the notes in here that you need like a green team, and maybe the seats might be green. I'm not sure. Oh, okay, so you have green right here. So that's what I'm gonna keep in mind. This is going to be green. Now, you could ignore it and go with a different color, but other than that, like, I really think you could choose any color. Like, I'm trying to see where there's like Texas or North Texas logos. Like, even up here, even in like the press box area, it's very blank. Like, it is such a solid option. Oh, I guess you do have the North Texas wings, like those little wing logos. To be honest, it's like so ambiguous, you can't really tell. I guess it does say like Oh, you do see like the stadium like name there, but it's like such a dark green. It's honestly super easy to avoid. You could honestly go with any color stadium. I'm gonna be real with y'all, or any color team, because other than this green area, which again you could ignore, like there's no branding on it at all, I think it could be such a good match. You know, it's similar to how like in the MLB they have like the dark green, dark green, like what's it called? Not dugouts. I don't know why I forgot. I don't know why I completely like had a brain fart there. You know, they have like those dark green dugouts. It could be the same here, where it's like, you know, I mean, it is kind of a brighter green. I wish they like, it's clearly like a tarp that's covering the seats. I don't know why that's the case. That's really stupid in my opinion. It really keeps us from being like an S tier. Like I would put this in an A tier, honestly. You do also have windmills in the background, which I think is actually really cool. They aren't moving or anything, but I'm just like, I just think it's such a great stadium, honestly. Like, I'm trying to find anything else that I don't like about it. The design is really cool. I'm trying to see anywhere else. See over here, you know, sometimes you have these little, you know, sections where the tunnels have some branding on it. Still, no branding. Super solid. I really am shocked that this is a good stadium. Again, I was like, you need to have a green team. Other than that, I don't think you could do whatever you want. Like, you could honestly put any color and be fine, honestly, with it. Of course, if you had a green team and you need to pick a stadium, like this would be a super solid option, but you could put any color stadium. It's kind of similar to the Kansas State stadium where they had the purple seating. Like, it's something that you'll grow to avoid, honestly. You'll kind of, you know, tone it out, and you do have this you do have this big old seat over here, which I think is actually pretty funny. Again, no logos or anything on it, so it's honestly, this feels like a stadium that was just built to have like a team builder team on it. Oh, you do have a green little section there, so that's something that keep in mind. I think there also is a little bit of a green border around that, so it's just something to keep in mind. I'm sure, like, if you have, you know, like a red crowd or something, you might notice that, but it's also such a dark green. It's like almost like a neutral green. Like, it's like that dugout color, you know, like from like a baseball team. Like, that's more of that dugout green. Like, this is obviously something that you're gonna have to think about if that's gonna be good or not, but I still think it's a solid option, guys. And if you have a green team, it would fit perfectly. If you don't have a green team, I still think it would be a really good option. It's a smaller stadium, but it has a modern design. Like, there's a bunch of, you know, the end zone is really cool. It has, you know, the gates and all that. It has the 3 American flags. You have a visitor section right in the corner. You have like this very interesting like double deck design, and obviously, of course, this end zone is the coolest. Like, it doesn't have like it's not really pointing to any kind of team or anything. Like, it's just a pointed design. It almost reminds me of like the Seahawks, where they have that one end zone where it comes to a point. Like, this comes to 2 points. But again, I think, super great option. I think people should totally pick it. All these options I would totally choose. There are a few where you probably want to pick a certain color over another, but that's why I'm trying to give you guys as much options as possible, because there are so many good options that are beyond the generic stadiums, and I think are better than the generic stadiums, because while the generic stadiums don't have any like colors or anything, they also don't have bands. The band is right there. Like, that is so cool, and the band will be your color for the team that you pick. So again, I think North Texas is a solid option for a smaller stadium, but it has some really cool parts to it. And I think even if you make a bigger stadium that becomes, or even if you make a team that becomes really big, this still kind of adds up. Like, it's again, small stadium, but it still has that modern design. It's not like a, you know, super tiny, you know, it looks better than the generic stadiums. That's what I'm basically trying to say. With Old Dominion. So I know you're thinking, oh wait, you have this like big logo right here. This is already bad start. Actually, it's not, because that's really the only like Old Dominion branding anywhere you see on here. First of all, the walls are brick, which is great. There's no like banners or anything. You just see a generic sponsor right there. There is a little bit of a blue padding, but again, this is like a blue color that's honestly not really that, like, it's one of those generic colors, to be honest. And then you have this cool section over here. Again, the stands aren't, I don't think they're any specific color. I think they might be blue here, so that's something to keep in mind. Maybe using a blue team might be preferred. My cat is definitely very excited to talk about Old Dominion, as you can hear. But I definitely think this is a great small stadium. Like, really, again, just compared to the other stadiums that you have, like the generic stadiums, first of all, you do have a band section, which that's something that the generic stadiums don't have for some reason. The visitor section also is pretty clean. You have this little section of just themselves, and it's like mixed at the top and the upper deck. But you have like a little upper deck situation. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk. Situation up here. You got this like bigger or like more of a generic, like almost high school style, where it's just like one section, and then similar to over here, you have the two small sections, and then this little other end zone, which seems to be like a more modern style. I genuinely think this is a cool look for a small stadium. I would definitely do it. Again, if you had a light blue team, if you really wanted to match it, I'm trying to think of the seats. I think these seats are, as you can see, they're just like normal bleachers, so they're just white. I think these seats might be blue, so that is something to keep in mind, the little light blue. But again, like, I really think the color of the seats doesn't really matter that much, but if you really do care about that, that is something to keep in mind. But other than that, you just have this ODU logo. But again, it's honestly like super easy to ignore. It's also a little blue up there, but again, all the video boards will take over as your team. And then also just for the background, pretty standard, I would say. City, I guess the ODU is based in Virginia, so you do get some trees, you have a little bit of the mountains in the background, some buildings, so I definitely think it's cool. You also have the American flag right there. I definitely think we're off to a good start. So ODU is going to be the first stadium that I would recommend, and yeah, we'll move on to the next stadium. All right, and for our next stadium, this might be a little bit of a hot take because you do see a little bit more branding, but I do think Rice is, I think just from a architecture standpoint, like I like this stadium, like the way that the stadium looks itself, like the bleachers and stuff. It definitely has a little bit more branding than some may like. Of course, it says things like "Welcome to Rice Stadium" and Rice University. So if that is a deal breaker for some, I get it, but it's also like, really, the text isn't that big. It's also not like the colors aren't super bad. It's not like all up in your face like that. It does say Rice University, but again, who knows? Maybe Rice is like, maybe Rice is sponsoring it or whatever. So that is really the only big issue with this stadium, but I still think, and then you have this blue section over here, but again, like, I think that's not that big of a deal at all. But you have the video board. I just think the stadium architecture, like over here, like I'm assuming this is where the student section is, has to be somewhere around here, but like, it's just like so compact. It seems like there's so many fans in this section. I just think it's a good option. Like, again, and then you have this area over here. I think this used to be like a tarped area. Like, it used to be like completely empty, but they removed the seats, so now it's just like a green area. Again, I just think it's better than some of the other like generic stadiums. But if you think you can't get past like some of these, Rice University or Rice Stadium things, or the logo right there, I get it, but I don't think it's honestly that bad. Like, you really aren't gonna see it that much. And the thing is like, a lot of these things is, you'll notice it like right away, but then you kind of get used to it. Like, that's something I realized, and you kind of get over it. Like, I've kind of gotten over like the fact that if you're doing a neutral site game, you don't see your team's end zone. EA, please fix, but up until then, I'll be able to manage. But I just think from the way that the stadium looks, I think is a really cool. Again, if you have a team based in Texas, this would be good, because I'm pretty sure Rice is based in Houston, so it looks like you get to see a little bit of the Houston skyline over there, I guess. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if you could pick any team from like the South, and it would fit pretty well. But yeah, Rice is, again, I think it's a good option. I was gonna put a team like Oklahoma State or Ole Miss, but honestly, I'm gonna be real with y'all guys. Ole Miss and Oklahoma State, like, they were really close to making the list, but they just don't, like, there's just too much branding. Like, it just, like, they'll have a banner. Like, the biggest thing that would have made me not use the Rice stadium is that, let's say they had a banner right here where it says Rice University. If they had a big banner that had the Rice logo, that's a big issue. Like, honestly, I can get past like text, but when you have a huge logo, it definitely like destroys the immersion. And that's the biggest problem that Oklahoma State and Ole Miss had. Like, the stadiums look so great, but they just have like their logos planted in a place where it's like, it's the one logo in the one place you don't want it. So that's why we're not doing those teams. But Rice, again, I think it's right. I think it's definitely right on the edge of being a team that I recommend. Again, you do have a band section. The visitor section also is really cool. Like, it's really unique. It's like right behind the visitor bench, which I think is a really cool setup. I do like how EA has done that, because like I think in like old EA games, like they would just have it take up this entire section and it would just be kind of stupid. So I do like how it has like this entire section behind the visitor bench, or at least like half of it. So that is it for Rice. We will move on to our next stadium right after this. All right, and the next stadium that we're going to be doing is San Diego State. So this is Snapdragon Stadium, and honestly, guys, this might be a really underrated stadium. Now, there are a few things that I don't like. I think this is definitely more an EA issue. The biggest issue I have is it seems like EA does not put any fans in these sections up here, which is like really kind of dumb. So like, for example, right there, you see like it's an empty section, but you see it's a little bit more egregious over here. Like you see like 2 completely empty sections, and I'm just a little confused like why they're empty, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. I just think that's a little weird. Other than that, though, I think the stadium is a really modern style. It's one of those modern small stadiums, and I just think it's super clean. Like, I love the way it is behind the end zone, where you have like, you know, that big section, then you have the visitor section in the corner. It says Snapdragon Stadium. You don't see any San Diego State. You see Snapdragon Stadium, but again, you could just take over for that and just call it Snapdragon Stadium. It has nothing to do. Snapdragon is I think they're a chip manufacturer, right? I think that's how it works. So like nothing where it says San Diego State anywhere. I think the only thing to keep in mind is that you probably want to pick a team with red color, because as you can see, those seats are going to be red. Some of the seats are gray, but I think in the upper deck they are red. So that's something to keep in mind. But I just think it's such a clean, like, modern stadium. Again, you have the band right here, and it looks like this is the student section. Again, really cool stadium. I think it's extremely modern looking. You know, it's not the biggest stadium, but I think it reminds me a little bit of like Oregon State, like over here, almost like TCU, where and then you have this section where you like have more capacity, but like over here you have like the rich people section, where you have like all the, you know, all the fancy sections. Of course, you have some that are empty, which is a little annoying. Again, the biggest part is this like section right here. Like, I don't know why they don't just put like fans there. Like, this was something that was in College Bowl 25, so clearly this wasn't something that I don't think they even touched this between 25 and 26, which is fine. But I don't know, I think it's a really modern looking stadium. I would absolutely pick this if you have a red team. Again, Snapdragon Stadium is really the only branding you're seeing. You do see some like interesting graphics. I think this is more of the Snapdragon branding, not necessarily San Diego State. So again, you could easily get away with just putting your own school here and then just, you know, calling it Snapdragon Stadium as well. It's really, again, I have no problem with this at all. I genuinely think this is a great stadium. Like, again, the only gripe would be those missing fan sections, which again, it's like one of those things where you could get over it pretty quickly. And then also red. So red team probably preferred, I think, because some of the upper decks are blank. When they're blank, the seats are red. But it's also something you can get over with. Like, some stadiums have like red seats. It's kind of like the Kansas State situation, where like some of the seats are purple, but I was using like a red team for a while. So I think I might move my Bradenton team over to this stadium, because again, it's a very modern stadium. And even if you become like a powerhouse, like I do think this like would fit like a powerhouse team, like just because it's extremely modern looking. It's really new. I think it's a stadium that was just built a few years ago. So San Diego State is honestly like a really solid option. I was a little hesitant about putting on the list because like those like missing sections, but just like flying around, I'm like, you know, this actually is a pretty solid option. So San Diego State, great option for a red team, 100%. If you don't have a red team, I still think it's a good option as well. But yep, we'll go ahead and close out San Diego State, and we will move on to the next team. All right, and for the next team, this might be a hot take a little bit, but I just think this stadium looks so cool, and that is going to be Stanford. Now, I know you see Stanford, like the name right there, and you see the flags, and you also see where it says Stanford Stadium. But I don't know, guys. I just think it could be a really cool option. Again, red team preferred. And honestly, if you have a red team, I think it would really fit in, because like the Stanford Cardinals, stuff like that, like that would kind of blend in with your team that's red. Now, the reason why I say red team preferred, because I think the bleachers also turn red, so something to keep in mind. But I just think, like, especially with the trees in the background, of course, you know, that's like a big part of Stanford. But if you're going with like a California, like a Northern California based team, or just a team that is like in a forest, I don't know, I just think that could be a cool stadium. Like, I think this is one of the better like college football stadiums in terms of like how everything is compact. It's not too big, because here's the thing, like Stanford, I mean, it also fits a lot of people. I think it fits like, I could be wrong, I think it fits like at least 50,000 or something, which is good for like a college stadium. And I know Stanford is technically a big program, even though they've kind of fallen off, but I just think it's a cool stadium. Like, I generally think Stanford is a really cool stadium anytime I get to go and play there. It just, the background, the way how everything is super close to the field, like in how it's almost like symmetrical, like you have like, it's just a lower deck, upper deck, and then, you know, on each sideline it gets a little pushed out a little bit higher. Generally, if you have a red team, I think this could be a good fit. Obviously, if you see the whole thing, like I'm far away. Like, if I'm at kickoff level, you barely see the whole Stanford things. Like, obviously, you see Stanford. Maybe Stanford is sponsoring your stadium. I don't know. Like, it's, the thing is, like, the one cardinal sin that usually breaks it for me is if there are big logos anywhere. You don't see any big logos. Like, I was gonna put UAB on this list. The problem is that UAB has like a big UAB Blazer banner right here, and I'm like, I just can't get past it, because like it's too much. Like, I was actually really excited to do UAB, but then I realized, like, man, like that banner right there is kind of like breaks the immersion. And then the only thing that really could break the immersion up here is this, where it says Stanford up there on both end zones, the tiny flags at the top. As you can see, like they're so tiny. I mean, I'm surprised they render in like full quality too. And then, like, you know, a bunch of red stuff. But again, if you pick a red school, I think it would fit perfectly. All these parts right here, like this is a video board, so this would fit your school's theme. Again, you have the band section, which again is super important. That's not in any of the generic stadiums. So yeah, I'm gonna stop it here with Stanford. I feel like I've talked about it enough. Stanford is a solid stadium for a red team, especially if you're gonna put them in California, or if you want to have a forest theme. I don't know. I just think it's really cool. And also, like, I think it's a stadium that most people won't pick, because Stanford is, for one, alphabetically, it's low on the list. And also, Stanford isn't really like the school that you think of, like, and I just think, like, the things that could turn people off, like, generally it's not that bad. Like, again, just all it says is just Stanford. I think it's a Stanford Cardinal, like, on one of the scoreboards, but look how tiny it is. Like, it's really small. Similar to how, like, Jacksonville State, where you just have the Jacksonville State logo on the video board, but it's really not that bad. So I think Stanford is a solid stadium. Oh yeah, don't forget, the walls are completely blank. That is a huge thing. I mean, you have advertisements over here, which is, you know, adds a little bit of immersion, but nothing where it's like shows like Stanford banners or anything. So again, super clean. We're gonna stop it here. We're gonna move on to the next stadium, which I think you guys are all gonna know what's coming up next, but we'll go ahead and get to that. All right, guys, and we're back, and we're going on to a team. I must be honest, UCLA is not as big of an option as I thought it was gonna be. I honestly, in College Football 25, it was definitely a good option. I don't know if they put these in recently, but that definitely is a blue area, and that's obviously not going to change. Also, the stands are like red, or pink, or whatever the heck, they're like faded, but it's still a really solid stadium. Like, it's the Rose Bowl, it fits a ton of people, it's in California, you have like an amazing backdrop. You do have these UCLA banners, which again could be a little immersion breaking. Again, UCLA surprisingly is not the best option as it used to be. I would personally pick Cal over UCLA, in my honest opinion, just because, like, some of the things here, like, and obviously the video boards will change, but this is technically, you know, a blue little padding area, so you know, obviously maybe a blue team preferred. The away section is cool though. Like you do see like the fans, like they take over like this section and it kind of fades up a little bit. So that is pretty sick. And then you have like the video boards as well. And then obviously the skybox is like very generic because again, Rose Bowl, it's not like UCLA Stadium, but there are a few things that make UCLA kind of that has UCLA branding, like those banners. But again, honestly, it's more of those yellow banners that kind of stand out the most, which could be a little, you could take it away a little bit. So that's something to keep in mind. The blue ones definitely blend into the background like really well. So maybe if you have a yellow team, you honestly, you could just go with any school. Like these blue like padding areas, they are very like Rose Bowl generic theme. Like they aren't anything that says, it doesn't say anything about UCLA. So you honestly could just be fine with it. It's honestly not as bad. I mean, I think the Rose Bowl has it as normal anyways. So that is just something to keep in mind. Genuinely, like you can't go wrong with the Rose Bowl. Like again, it's like a quintessential like college football stadium. It's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, college football like venue at like of all time. Like it's just a bowl and it holds a ton of people. It's in California. It has a really cool backdrop. It has the mountains there. And I'm pretty sure it would have like that super scenic like dynamic lighting thing where it like transitions. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, UCLA. I don't really know what much else to say. I know a lot of people were using this before we had the generic stadiums. I know like Not the Expert did it for his UGF series. So UCLA, solid stadium, can't go wrong with it. Also has a really interesting way that it like the fans, like the dynamic attendance works, like how the fans like are spread out. So you can't go wrong with it, but obviously want to include on this list for those who haven't heard of it. So UCLA. And we're gonna move on to my final recommendation, and then we'll close out this list. So we're putting a bow on it, guys. And for the final stadium of the day, we are going to University of Nevada, Las Vegas, or more commonly known as UNLV. Honestly, huge stadium. It's an NFL stadium, so that is something to keep in mind. If you wanted to go for like this is the rare major huge stadium that you could pick, and I definitely think would be a good option. Like you can't really do Alabama, I can't do many of these big stadiums. Now there are some UNLV branding around. Surprisingly, I thought this would be pretty blank, but there is a little bit. So for example, there is a little flag there. Trying to see where else. These little boxes that you see down here, they do get changed, so don't that's very team specific, whoever's on the sideline. So you do have those little banners over there. On the end zone, it's just black, so can't go wrong with that. On the visitor section, it's also again very blank. There really isn't anything over there. Then you have the little club section that's empty because, you know, no one wants to pay $10,000 to go to the club section at a UNLV game. A little bit more UNLV banners, but again, they kind of blend in. Like they don't really show up that much. And then you also have UNLV banners up here, but it's just the word mark, so it's honestly not that bad. And it's also just white and black, so I think it is. And it's the second level. Like you really don't notice it. And then a ton of video boards. So those will all change, of course, to your team. And then the stadium itself, like the seats are black. So I genuinely think if you want to make a powerhouse stadium, powerhouse team with a huge stadium, UNLV is the way to go. Like genuinely, like the fact that a college team would play in own a stadium like this, like let's say you wanted to do a team in Texas that, you know, has insane amounts of oil money, put them here. And it says Allegiant Stadium, which you could just call it Allegiant Stadium. I mean, there's a ton of stadiums that are named the same thing, anyways. And you also have that little flame thing, which is cool, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I just think you really can't go wrong with it. It's a really, really huge stadium, has huge video boards, has a like a translucent roof. I'm pretty sure like it gets dark. I have that little window there. Honestly, guys, like I would definitely go for it. And honestly, they fill in all the sections like pretty well. Like all these sections have fans. They're not like the generic copy paste players. You also have like the skybox like way up in the upper decks in the nosebleeds. But yeah, guys, that is gonna wrap up this series. Now there is an honorable mention for Vanderbilt. The only problem, the reason why I'm not putting it in this video is because Vanderbilt does have their logos like a little bit in the sections, but definitely check out Vanderbilt. It's not a bad option, but it is, I don't know, the logos is kind of what takes it away from me. But UNLV is gonna close out this series. We're ending on a high note. So let me know if there's any stadiums that I missed in this series. Let me know your favorite. What stadiums are you using for your team builder team? And yeah, that's gonna be it, guys. Hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, hitting the like button helps me out. Leaving a comment about what your thoughts about these kinds of videos, suggestions, definitely appreciate it. If you like all my videos and you want to subscribe, that's also cool as well. But other than that, this has been Jagonal, and I will talk to you guys next time.